Key concept 5, and this is the most important one because it ties them all together. It's called the Anacat map. And the goal is to become the everlasting man. Now that's a phrase that we just made up, I made up, somebody made up, to explain this right here. And I'm going to do a little talking about this over here. Now notice I talked about, in this axis is exercise energy management systems, and in this axis is diet energy management systems, okay? And every one of you fits on one of those 4 quadrants. And whichever quadrant you happen to be on, this is the one you want to be in. Unless you have a death wish, okay? This is where you want to be. And you can go there. Now, what in the world could that mean? How can anybody use that? I will tell you something. Understanding this map is how come our patients get an average annual 1-year increase in testosterone of 41%, an average increase in bone density of 14%. Most of our clients reverse their coronary calcium. Most of our clients increase their ventilatory exchange. That one, everybody does. That's how this happens, is understanding this map. The way we defy the natural history of aging is in understanding this map. And I've given you the concepts to understand this map. And if you don't, I wouldn't be surprised because, I'm going pretty large scale. Now, what is this map? By the way, in the beginning, all I mean there is as a baby. As a baby, and there are exceptions, as a baby, babies are pretty healthy. They sleep, they eat, they do that other thing. They have a very deep fundamental rhythms. Fundamental rhythms. Does anybody travel? Your fundamental rhythms are screwed up. Does anybody work too late? Your fundamental rhythms are screwed up. Does anybody skip meals? Your fundamental rhythms are screwed up. And I mean screwed up in a way that shortens your life and puts you in peril for serious disease. It's that crude and simple. So, fortunately, babies, until we screw them up, have nice, stable, fundamental rhythms. But they also have genetic dispositions. Genetic dispositions. The loads the gun, behavior pulls the trigger. Now, if you've got the right genetics, even if you pull the trigger, you're going to be this guy. Never forget the bell curve. If it's a single gene or millions of genes or thousands of genes, not millions, it's a bell curve, the distribution. So remember that, well, you know what a bell curve is. The bell curve. All right? It's the distribution in the population of a particular trait. These guys, they can smoke and drink and sit on their tail, and they're going to live longer than you and I'll ever live. These guys could be, St. Peter himself, or whatever your image of perfection is. They're going to die young, and it's going to be sad. It's just the way it is. But this is most people right here, 80%. 80% of us, we pull the trigger. And when we pull the trigger, we wind up with diabetes, coronary vascular disease, stroke, osteoporosis, or we wind up thin-skinned, dry mucosa, frail, depressed, osteoporosis, or we wind up like this guy, big, strong, fit, sick, and getting cancer. And every one of us falls into one of those 4 categories. I used to be this guy, and I am this guy now, because this business is killing me. I want to talk about medicine. I want to do medicine. But exercise energy management systems, diet energy management systems, resistant, sensitive. Let me illustrate. What we've done is identified surrogate markers that correlate with all of those energy management communication molecules. The primary one, and there are others, there are secondary ones. The primary one on the dietary energy management system is insulin, fasting insulin. So the surrogate for that is insulin. That's a surrogate. It stands in for a bunch of others. There are others that we have to augment it in certain people. This acts that you've got to understand another point. Now, by resistant, if we're using insulin, resistant... I'm sorry, Phil. I forgot that. I'm supposed to stay over there. No, good. As long as you got the sound, I guess. Yeah. Well, it's so hot, I'm going to sleep. You got to do something about that. Anyway, insulin resistance means your body needs more insulin to regulate your sugar than if you're insulin sensitive. And why would both of these guys be depressed, by the way? I didn't have that on there. Depression is very common in both of these people because both of these people are prone to very, very low insulin levels at various times of the day. These people pretty much all the time, if they're really way up here. These people intermittently, if you don't have enough insulin, you don't get enough tryptophan. If you don't get enough tryptophan, you don't get enough 5-hydroxytryptophan. If you don't get enough 5-hydroxytryptophan, you don't get enough 5-hydroxytryptamine. The other name for that's serotonin. Many of you know what serotonin is because we always talk about it with depression. So both of these people are prone to mood disorders, but that's just an example. But it has to do with insulin. What is going on here, since resistant and sensitive are kind of normal words, let me tell you about catabolic and anabolic. The body is made to tear down old stuff and make new stuff. Tear down old stuff and make new stuff. About every year, 95+% of every molecule in your body is brand new. No, not just molecule, atom. Okay? So we had to tear down a bunch of old stuff to build new stuff. Tearing down old stuff is called catabolism. Making new stuff is called anabolism. When you're fat and weak and can't get short of breath and have thin bones, you're catabolic. When you're big and strong and vigorous, you're anabolic. Many people have heard the word anabolic. They've heard about anabolic steroids. They hear testosterone is an anabolic steroid. There are a lot of anabolic hormones. They're only signaling molecules. It's back to the same principle. How in the world could things that make new stuff be in terms of energy regulation? Well, let's take testosterone. Testosterone increases amino acid incorporation and protein synthesis in many cells. Therefore, you have a stronger muscle, you can lift heavier objects, you can burn more energy. That's one short path from this molecule you've all heard to why it's an energy regulatory signaling molecule. Okay? So, catabolic means tear things apart, anabolic means make things new.